This morning we have with us, starting our press briefing, the Ministry of Agriculture. And the subject matter this morning is strengthening public safety and awareness on the fedelas in St. Lucia. I will now introduce the Minister with responsibility for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Climate Change, the Honorable Lucia here.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Morning. Wow, nice. Thank you so much for giving the Ministry of Agriculture your attention. I know we were supposed to have a press conference at the ministry, but we thought it was so important for us to merge because we did not want some media houses to be left out. I want to share with you that we are at a place that is very concerning for me as Minister with responsibility for forestry, and that also includes wildlife. You would have learned over the last few weeks and months we've had an increase in sightings of the fedelas, and we have seen various reactions from the general public. At this point, we know that it is very important to communicate to the people of St. Lucia what we can do, what we cannot do, and of course what we should do. I want to recognize my permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Sustainable Development, although he's the PS with responsibility for the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security, Mr. Bradley Setage. We have Mr. Pius Haynes and Donatien Gustav. These are our heads at the Department of Forestry. It will be their pleasure to, of course, answer any questions you might have. As with everything, we bring in the experts to best explain to you. Number one priority for the government is to keep the people of St. Lucia safe. You would have learned, or you are aware, that when we came in, one of our first orders of business was to remove the cattle that was grazing at the Shock roundabout. They prevented not just a nuisance, but a public hazard. And after almost 4 decades, we have brought that that issue under control. This time we have another issue that could get out of hand. And so the experts will share with you why we are where we are today and what we have noticed. Now, I want to say that as recent as yesterday, I saw this clip where somebody was discharging a firearm and killed a snake. It is so important for the people of St. Lucia to understand what that means for us, not just as a country, but when we sign on to many wildlife protection agreements, what that means for us with tourists visiting our country and to other funding agencies outside. So without further ado, I will call on our permanent secretary, Mr. Bradley Setage, who will say a few words and, of course, take the discussion or moderate the discussion with the rest of our ministry team. Mr. Setage.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, it is a pleasure being here this morning. Today we are going to provide the Ministry of Agriculture, or the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food Security. Today we are going to provide you with an update on the current snake management efforts and safety protocols. Now, like Minister highlighted earlier, we have noticed increased sightings of snakes in especially the rural areas. And this is unexpected. This is not something that we expected or has been happening. It has caused some concerns. We are concerned, but the Department of Agriculture wants to today ease the burden, ease the fears, the panic, and we want to also share some information which would help mitigate the risk of persons getting snake bites. So this is the reason why we have brought in the department, 2 of the managers from the Department of the Division of Forestry, Dr. Donatien Gustav, who is the acting chief forestry officer, and we also have Mr. Pius Haynes, one of the assistant chief, all right, to share the plan that we have, and we want the information that we have, the up-to-date information that we have, to share with the public, again to ease the burden, the fears, and to mitigate the risk, like I said earlier. Today is where we start. This is the first. We have a plan, and the plan begins today. This press briefing, this press brief that we're gonna, or the information that we're gonna share today is the start. All right. So we're gonna give you the information so that we can share it out there to the public. Okay, because we know what is going on out there. Again, like Minister said, there has been so many videos on social media, and it's very alarming, it's very disturbing, and it's not pleasing. All right, so this is why we at the ministry, we came together, we came up with a plan, and we want to share that plan with you. And like I said, today is the start of that. Today we begin this implementing that plan. All right, and we are, first and foremost, we are going to let people have to know what is it that we have in store, or what is it that we've prepared. So it's a very comprehensive but a very simple plan. All right, and I will allow the technical personnel in the ministry, those persons in the Department of Forestry, to share that plan with you today. All right, so I'm now going to invite either Mr. Dr. Gustav, or, as chief, or Pius, if you want to share to give you some ideas or give you an update as to where we are at with that plan and how we go from here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to acknowledge the protocol already established, and I want to really thank the teams of persons at Forestry and the other institutions, notably Ministry of Health, that we've been trying to work with to get that framework. We have a strategic plan, and it has 5 pillars. The first one being education. I want to also mention that in that education process, we're looking at not just creating or enhancing awareness, but also changing behaviors. We want persons to know the first and paramount strategy must be safety, but in particular, there are safer ways to interact with snakes, in particular, the featherless. Having said that, a second pillar deals with duty-free and VAT exemptions. We want to promote that persons have access to that type of equipment, because if persons, particularly farmers in rural areas, are engaged in these activities without the proper protection, the probability of being bitten is higher. So safety equipment, PPEs, is another pillar. The third one is a rapid response mechanism, where we're going to have a hotline. There will be a team established to facilitate rapid response. That team will be trained, and they would be the ones, together with Forestry, visiting, going to the sites affected when called. Research is fundamental. There are many questions that must be answered. For example, why is this happening at this time? We have some ideas. We can share some of them later, but we need to know the reasons behind. So we're looking at data mapping and getting those responses from both technical people and you in the field. Finally, I want to highlight the medical dimension, that we are in partnership with the Ministry of Health, and as such, they are the ones, together with us, they manage the clinical response. Forestry manages the environmental response. So going forward, this is the first dimension of the conversation, the strategic approach. I will ask Mr. Haynes to give an idea of the operational approach.
Thank you, Dr. Gustav, and let me adopt the protocols that have been already established. Very happy to be here this morning to be talking on this very important topic, the St. Lucia featherless and snakes on a whole. Generally, in St. Lucia, we have 4 snake species. We initially had 5, as in the St. Lucia cribo, but that snake has gone into extinction back in the 19th century. So we are left with 4 snake species. So we have the St. Lucia boa, which is our biggest snake, the tetchia, as you may all be aware. And then we have the St. Lucia featherless, which is the second biggest after the boa. And then we have a very rare snake that we find only on the Maria Islands. In fact, Maria Major in Vieux-Fort, that is called the St. Lucia thread snake. Sorry, the St. Lucia racer, which is the rarest snake in the wild. The numbers are quite contracted, very small numbers that we have there. And finally, we have the second smallest snake in the world that is referred to as the St. Lucia thread snake. Among all these snake species that we have, it is only the featherless that is venomous. Okay, all the others are harmless, including the boa. They will not pose any harm to human life. So it's only the St. Lucia featherless, or what we refer to as the St. Lucia lancehead, or the pit viper, or what we refer to as a sepa in Creole. That is the one that we are most concerned about in terms of health and safety protocols. So, as was noted, historically, St. Lucia has had these snakes, and those snakes are endemic to the island of St. Lucia. So, they are native, they belong here, they are 100% St. Lucians, and they were not brought in by our early settlers. They were part and parcel of the natural landscape and ecosystem of St. Lucia. So St. Lucia has one of the, we call the species is called Bothrops. It's called Bothrops caribeus, the one that we have, the featherless that we have. And the other featherless that you can find within the Lesser Antilles is called the Bothrops lanceolatus. And that is the one that you can find in Martinique. So should I say it is only St. Lucia and Martinique who are blessed with these 2 pit vipers, or the lancehead. And the others, I mean, the other islands don't really have these. And the vast majority, you'd find them in Central America and in Northern South America. All right? So all of these snakes, as I've said, they are native to the island. And by native, in fact, they're endemic. Apart from being native, they are endemic. So by endemic, we mean that these snake species exist naturally in the world or in the wild only in St. Lucia, this particular type of species. And that has implications for the environmental benefits. It has implications for ecological benefits, environmental conditioning. They play an integral role within the natural landscape. And it just helps to keep nature in its fine-tuned balance. So if we were to, take any actions that would negatively impact upon these wildlife, then in and of itself, it can come back and cause negative repercussions. And these repercussions could be on agriculture, on food security, on our economy, on a whole bunch of other factors. All right, so we have been noticing, as a forestry department, we know that the featherless has been a species that has been within our landscape from time immemorial. The core habitat for the species has been along the west coast in millet, canneries, and slurry. This has been the core habitat for the species along the west coast. On the east coast, we have them in Prale and in Dennery. And we also had a remnant population on the northeast coast of the island. So you had places like Dauphin and Granance and Louvet and these areas once historically had the species there. What we are finding now is that there seems to be a paradigm shift, or there seems to be a movement, a redistribution of the species, because we are finding the species in places where they were not found recently, or they were not found in the recent past. Bear in mind that historically, if we go back to the historical records, as way back as the 19th century, you would find that the island was replete with those snakes. Okay, they were found as high up as castries, and they were found all around the island. But because of the introduction of agriculture through the sugarcane plantations and habitat loss and destruction, then you find, and also human persecution and stuff like that, you'd find that the species was more confined to the core central habitats, especially in the central forest. During the banana days, then you'd find that there was like a buffer. So you'd find the forest reserve, our forest reserve typically falls within the center of the island. And after that, I'm talking about back in the 80s and early 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So our forest was more within the central part of the island. And then you'd have a buffer, more or less. That's where you had the banana plantations. Bananas, green gold was almost everywhere, and every nook and cranny in St. Lucia had banana plantations. And after that, you'd have human settlements. And so that is what happened. So we find that it's about, over 30 years now, or roughly about 30 years that we have stopped doing intensive banana cultivation. And what we are finding is that the places where we once had banana plantations, those places, through succession over the years, they have reconverted into forest, and it's now bush. And so that means we have more suitable habitat for the growth and development of those wildlife species, including the feathers. So this is one of the crucial aspects of the seemingly proliferation of the species about the place. They have more habitat. The habitat is more amplified, and so they can spread. The other aspect of it that, again, research needs to be given priority so that we can ascertain, so that we can make sure that what we are saying, they are scientifically based and proven. But the other component, the other aspect of it would be the presence of what we refer to as Koshomao within our forest reserve. Believe it or not, St. Lucia has a lot of Koshomao in the forest reserve. We refer to them as wild pigs. But these were domesticated pigs back in the day. Our foreparents, parents, they used to have those pigs tied under a tree, a banana tree, a breadfruit tree or coconut tree up in the heights. And eventually, they went rogue, they went wild. And now they are breeding and proliferating in the forest reserve. Pigs are not native. Pigs are invasive species, they are introduced species. And what we find, in contrast to our native species, and all our snakes, as I've said, are native species, there's a huge contrast between native species and invasive species. Whereas a native species or an endemic species, those that you find within the landscape naturally, they have a lot of benefits, okay, within the environment. Benefits that will redound to the benefits of agriculture as well, tourism and so on. But those invasive species, they are very destructive, and as a matter of fact, they will have negative implications on our wildlife. So we find that the pigs too have, or potentially they have, a negative impact on those feather masses, on those wildlife. Because what happens is that they have two approaches. Pigs are very opportunistic, they are also omnivorous, and so they would eat any and everything that they get. So they have the potential to also eat snakes, including the featherless, especially the baby ones. And also, what they do is that once you find pigs established in an ecosystem, they just decimate the ecosystem. There is huge degradation within the ecosystem by virtue of their characteristics. They're rooting, they're wallowing, they like to lab away, and they just turn the forest upside down, and they eat everything they get in that forest floor. So what do you find? You find, as a result, the local native species, including the snakes, they don't have the quality of habitat that they once had. They can't fetch the food. They can't get the animals that they need to survive. So what they do? They are displaced. Okay, so they move out from the central forest. They move out to the periphery. And by moving out to the periphery, you are finding that they are getting closer to human habitation. They are getting closer to farmlands and so on. And then you are getting those negative encounters. All right? So, as was mentioned by Dr. Gustav, we have these five pillars that would help us manage and to help us execute our rapid response. And these are very important: the education and awareness, the research, the provision of personal protective equipment. That is very, very important. We cannot emphasize this more. Also, the need to execute the rapid response mechanism. But of course, we mentioned the research, and the research needs to take into consideration the need to do a nationwide population assessment of the featherless. We have never done this before. We do not know how many featherlesses are out in the wild. We will never get a perfect number, but at least we can get an estimate. And also, the most important aspect too is that we need to redistribute. We need to find a distribution, and we need to map them so that we can know where they are. Because by knowing where they are, it also lends for safety and precaution and so on. Because if you know that something is looking somewhere, you'll be more cautious. But if you don't know that it is there, then your guard will be down. All right? So we have our work cut out for us, but I'm happy that we can approach this on a national level, because it is an all-hands-on-deck approach. We need all agencies involved. And in fact, we have a number of agencies that we are collaborating with, and you made mention of them. So the Ministry of Health is our clinical lead, and they are a very important stakeholder, along with the Forestry Department as the environmental and executing lead. But of course, we have other agencies like NEMO, and we have St. Lucia National Trust, and we have a number of other agencies that will collaborate with us, the St. Lucia Fire Service, even the police, to assist us in this whole management framework of the St. Lucia featherless. It is not a daunting task, and what I have noticed in my experience is that knowledge, education is extremely valuable. Just by knowledge, you can lay your fears right down to almost zero. So I think I have said enough. I don't know if the minister or the PS or my chief would like to add some more, or whether they want to open up to questions.
Well, I think we can open up to questions. Very good. Thank you.
Good morning, Josiah B. said Hot 7 TV. So in regards to this, let's say citizens end up meeting or actually getting face-to-face with the federal. So what would be the first response, or what would someone needs to do in that situation? Who do they call us?
I knew that this would have been the very first question that would have been asked. You get a featherless, you encounter a featherless, then what do you do? All right. First of all, we should ask our question: where is that featherless encountered? Is a featherless encountered in a forest reserve, in a national park, in a wooded area? Is it in your garden? Is it in your yard? Is it on your step? Okay? Is it somewhere under your sofa? So it depends on where. All right? So when persons encounter a featherless, safety must be your number one priority. The first thing that we advocate that you do is to move away from the animal. All right? Move away from the animal. You have to take slow, deliberate steps, because the animals get very, 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 defensive, and they can also get agitated with very brisk and quick nervous movement. So move away from the animal is your first option. All right, then you assess the situation, okay? And then, but of course, you look for assistance in trying to capture the animal and get the animal out of there. All right? I will tell you that there are circumstances when it is best that you just leave the animal alone based on where the animal is. For example, you are trotting to the forest reserve, you expect them to be there, and also within the forest reserve, they have, by default, they have protection within the central forest reserve, because they are supposed to be in the reserve. And to get to the reserve, you need permission by forestry to be there in the first place. So if you see a featherless in the forest reserve, then you just divert your steps and then continue on a safer path. If you find a featherless in a wooded area and it is of no immediate threat to your life, then I'd say instead of approaching and trying to handle that snake, I'd say leave the snake alone. It's in a wooded area. It's of no immediate threat to no one, not you, not your family, not your animals, your pets, your livestock. So it's best that you just leave the animal alone. However, I am going to say that the featherless is a highly potent animal. All right, I will not be naive. And I'm going to say that there are moments when it necessitates that the animal needs to be neutralized based on where it is. For example, you find a featherless in your home, you find it on your steps, you find it in your yard, and there are children there, okay? And then it is a direct threat to your life as a human being. It is a direct threat to your family life. It is a direct threat to your pet, your livestock. Sometimes persons have found featherlesses in pig pens, all right, and in goat pens and so on. And they can inflict injury on these livestock, and they can kill them. So in a case like this, you may end up neutralizing the species under these circumstances, and that would be a justified culling.
Okay. Good afternoon, Shine Savory, Choice News. So follow-up question. When you say neutralize, which I'm assuming is a very nice word for kill, what methods would you say would be appropriate for that? We had mentioned that maybe discharging a firearm is not the best way to get rid of a snake. So what method should you use to get rid of that threat?
So what I'm going to say is that, again, approaching the venomous featherless is not something that I would recommend to novice and also to persons who do not have the experience. I'd recommend in the first instance that you seek assistance. Okay, you could seek assistance from someone who is better able to assist you. If in this instance, forestry department staff could be called, and especially after we have rolled out the rapid response mechanism, we would recommend that persons call on to the professionals to help with this. So we have had cases, and these are real cases that I can tell you. Persons have tried to exterminate featherlesses. They approach the animal, and in the process of trying to kill the animal, they themselves got bitten. They got hurt. And I know of a case in the Millet area that happened. And I know of a case as well, just during the COVID time, that somebody was trying to trample on a snake with his feet, and then in the process, the snake recoiled and hit him, and he got. So also, we have to bear in mind that persons who approach a snake, trying to kill that snake sometimes, you can have yourself get hit. For example, the head of the animal, for example, the venom glands remain active even after it has been severed. So if you cut a featherless into 4 or 3 pieces, the head still remains active. The glands can still palpate and can still discharge venom. Okay? If you fly the head of the animal, it means that it could injure somebody in the process. So we need to be very careful as to the way that we approach a featherless. And again, the crucial aspect of it, in my opinion, is to seek assistance from somebody who's more competent, a professional, in order to help you with your situation or problem.
Right. So in terms of getting somebody who is more qualified, if I'm not mistaken, there are clinics that are able to treat snake bites in St. Lucia. But given the fact that, as you said, just St. Lucia and Martinique have these venomous snakes, and the minister had mentioned that it's important that we manage our snake population, especially as it comes to engaging with international and regional stakeholders and tackling the issue. What level of development, what more can we do to manage the snake population and treatment besides the bite treatment that we already have available?
Right. So I wish that we would have had a medical professional to be able to take it from that angle.
I can also just share that there's another aspect of the plan that is being developed, and that is at the cabinet level. In the past, we've had to source our antivenoms from countries like Costa Rica. We are certainly looking at closer to home, and so we'll allow, when that process has been completed, for us to share more information on that, because there's certainly value in the antivenom, and that is really we're having that discussion at this point. In addition to your question on health, Ministry of Health, as Dr. Gustav and Mr. Haynes have mentioned, they're an integral part of the task force that will be developed to manage the food loss, and so they will also be playing their part in sharing more information. You may recall that Honorable Moses Jabatis was really strong about that in the first term, in terms of antivenom collaborations and consultations. What we have been seeing right now, and even Minister Sean Edward, the parliamentary rep for Dennery North, just about a month or two ago, began consultation in his own community, in his own constituency, to really educate the public, his constituents there, on how to access it. So we will share more information. Well, we'll allow the Ministry of Health to share more information as to how to manage it moving forward. But on the antivenom side, we are working on that discussion right now.
Okay, Jeremiah.
Just 1 second. I can also add that the whole idea of our native biodiversity and the fact that they have intrinsic benefits, that also spreads onto the featherless. The featherless venom, in as much as it is debilitating, in as much as it is toxic, it also has very good, good potential therapeutic pharmacological benefits that could be accrued from the venom of the Bothrops caribeus, or the Bothrop species. So it is again one that would fall under the research component, that we need to delve into a study of what really our venom does contain as it relates to those pharmaceutical benefits. I can tell you that the Bothrop species, which is where the featherless is from, Bothrops caribeus, that's, and many others. There are many others. We have one in Martinique, and we have a number of others. We have about 45 to 48 different species of the Bothrops within Central, South America, and the Caribbean, about 48 species. And then what they are finding medically is that the venom is important, yes, to produce the antivenom for the cure or the neutralization of the venom, but the venom is also important for producing things like ACE blockers, like hypertensive medication. Also, they are important, they are already conducting cancer trials with these. Also, they are very good for congestive heart disease and these kind of things. So they are doing that kind of a research. So if, perchance, we have this biological resource, okay, we have this genetic resource, and again, it's part of the access and benefit sharing under the Convention for Biological Diversity. It is something that is a potential economic, socioeconomic benefit that can be accrued for the nation. All right, so we can do the studies in that regard, and then we can see what we get. Because what if we were able to get a medication from our snake venom that is useful for the treatment of certain types of cancers in St. Lucia? Don't you understand and don't you realize the scope and the value that that would have on not just St. Lucia but the world? So yes, so this is why it is counterproductive for us to be, and we cannot advocate to the general public that the point must be to go about extirpating every last featherless. It is impractical, and then it will not be the best conservation approach that we can take. Our best approach is to manage the situation and try and find mechanisms for coexistence with the species. Because again, persons have been living in and among featherlesses for decades now. All right, but then we just have to ensure that we reduce the frequencies and the number of bites and even death that we have from the species.
Okay, Jeremiah Joseph from HTS. So it's all well and good, all what you have said and thing, but there is a concern, the whole issue of social media. Recently, they had a post stating that government is paying a number of monies, the department is paying monies for the pursuit of the snake. What can we do and what can people do to get the right information to protect themselves from the snake and the community?
Yes, so our chief will answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I want to highlight that what you mentioned was directed specifically to the Chief Forest Officer, that the message came from the Chief Forest Officer. And as such, I want to highlight that it was not endorsed, promoted, there was no policy directive to have such a message disclosed or shared. I also want to highlight that to use government insignia, it's illegal. So going forward, we have the official channels. We have Minister Jawahiri's, was I correct? Correct. My apologies, but I'm saying we have her website that can also be accessed, but we have the government, the official government website, and you can access current information using these outlets.
So do you believe that the message is more harm than good? Because right now I understand that you are paying to get rid of this.
No, what you saw was a message without official authorization. But not only that, it did not have the government, the process of approval, and what the message should contain. Whilst it had the coat of arms, it didn't have Ministry of Agriculture. It didn't even have, since we're partners with Ministry of Health, we would not be giving such a message without informing the public, without a strategy that can facilitate not just interaction, but safe interaction.
But are you saying they have information on this message that is true?
No, there's no information that is accurate, and we categorically condemn that message.
Any other questions?
In the environment of misconception, maybe you could help out with regards the misconception that when you get bitten, you die immediately. And also, what are the possibilities of individuals securing antivenom?
Both questions should be answered by someone in the medical profession, but I know Mr. Haynes can give an adequate response at this point in time, and a disclaimer, he's from Forestry Department.
Yes, so with regards to the antivenom stock, we have been in very close collaboration with the Ministry of Health on this issue, and we can say that the antivenom stock at the OKEU hospital is available, and as of last year, February, the protocol was, the administration of the antivenom protocol was also established at the St. Jude's Hospital. So right now we have antivenom that is available both at the OKEU Hospital as well as the St. Jude's Hospital. Also, the government has gone a step further, and it has now placed snakebite treatments under universal health coverage. So persons who were to get bitten or injured by a featherless, it is of no cost to you whatsoever. Your hospital treatment, your hospital stay, if you have surgery or any follow-up treatment, it is covered, fully covered under the universal health coverage. So what we are doing here right now, and what we are starting here right now, is basically putting in mechanism and setting up the framework so that we can help the public feel more comfortable and be safer as it relates to living and working in a snake area. All right, so the antivenom stock is available. As a matter of fact, we get our antivenom stock from Brazil. Sorry, not Brazil, my apologies, from Costa Rica. We get our antivenom stock from Costa Rica, and it is a polyvalent type antivenom. It is one that is derived not from the venom of our snake. That would have been ideal, but then it is derived from some of the Bothrop species, the featherless species you get in Costa Rica. And we have found that it is very, very effective. And if persons access and get the antivenom treatment within very, very, very short time period, we have noticed that they do make a full recovery with little to no complications whatsoever. All right, and that window of time that we recommend is immediately. Okay, you would have heard persons say, "Oh, try and get to hospital within 3 to 4 hours." We tell you, if you try and get to hospital immediately, that is your best approach. Do not delay. Don't think of trying to use any kinds of traditional medicine now or remedies. Don't think of tying the wound with a tourniquet. Don't think of biting, sucking, making, burning. Yeah, all these things happen, you know. Persons, you know, actually make an incision and try and suck out the venom. Once a federalist has introduced venom into your tissues, they have hypodermic needles. They have two fangs like hypodermic needles, and it would have gone into your bloodstream. There is no way you can suck it out. And as a matter of fact, by sucking it out, you can inadvertently introduce bacteria in that area, and you know the wound will swell, and you're going to have more complications there. So we tell persons, if you get bitten by a federalist, then you need to just wash out the area where you got bitten, wash it out so that you could take away any venom splatter that may have remained so that your pores wouldn't absorb them. Get to hospital within the shortest time period. If you can get there through emergency services, then do so. If you have private vehicle, call the emergency services, tell them you're on your way, meet you on the way, call the hospital. And right now, I can tell you that the protocols for administration of antivenom at the hospital is very good. You get immediate attention. There's no waiting, okay? And then we have it also in the south at St. Jude's. One of the other recommendations that we have in our 5 pillars was to endeavor with the Ministry of Health to see how best we can decentralize the administration of the venom. So instead of these 2 locations, the north and the south, perhaps we could look at the wellness center in Unstary and also the wellness center at, the Denny Hospital. But these would be coordinated and organized by the Ministry of Health, not us.
Just follow. I think you're saying that they are at all the hospitals. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, St. Jude's and OKEU Hospital.
But the question was really about whether it is possible to secure personal stock of antivenom.
Whether you secure personally? Antivenom administration is a very technical process. And then I too, when I didn't know, I used to say to myself, okay, I'm going to the forest there. We're doing the inventory in 2009. We were doing the inventory of the forest. So I'm saying to myself, I was so petrified of snakes that I need to have a vial in my pocket and a little injection. So if in case I get bitten, I'll just juke myself. But this is not the way it works. It doesn't work like this. As a matter of fact, if anybody injects antivenom directly into your muscles or your bloodstream, then you can end up dying. It has to be administered within a hospital setting. Okay, you have to use IV fluids, intravenous IV fluids, with antibiotics and painkillers and all the medications that are in there over time. And based on the level of envenomation that you have, the level of venom you have in your system, then you have different levels. So you may have mild, you may have low, mild, and extreme. Okay, so it depends on how much you have. Then they give you different levels of the antivenom. All right, and then the antivenom becomes neutralized within a short time period. However, your recovery, might take a little longer because our federalist has what you call hemotoxic venom, and the hemotoxic venom, it would affect your tissues and your blood vessels. That's what it does.
Any more questions?
One more. Okay. Wait. That's fast.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christabel B. from Hot 7. I'd like to know, and I would like to direct this question to Dr. Gustave, what are the biggest challenges that you anticipate in implementing this strategy?
Thank you for the question. As always, you want to change attitudes, behaviors, and ideally, what you'd love to have is that people can coexist, but with priority one being safety. So going forward, you're going to see there is a plan that includes a knowledge, attitudes, and perception survey, and we're hoping to evaluate before and after whether we are having the desired impact. So for us, we look forward to engaging the public, empowering more than anything, so that they can fully engage personnel, not just at forestry, but also particularly persons in rural areas, persons who are vulnerable, persons who cannot differentiate the Boer and the Federalist. Going forward, most important pillar for me, for us, empowerment.
Has any timeline been set for seeing measurable outcomes from this strategy?
Well, that strategy has a 12-month component, and we're hoping to evaluate the impact within 12 months.
Thank you, Dr. Gustav.
Thank you so much.
Okay. For one minute, I thought I was in a classroom. I guess everybody felt the same way. We learned a lot. All right, I must say, I want to thank, first of all, Dr. Minister Jawai for her presence. It was her initiative. We know we had to come to you, and we really wanted to send out the message and prepare persons for the implementation of that plan. And it has already started, like I told you, but we had to do this press conference to really, like Dr. Donati said, start the empowerment today. All right, so I really want to thank you for your questions, very good questions. Before we came here, I know the three of us sat, and we were trying to figure out what questions would have been asked, and we were on the ball. I think we were very direct and correct. So, but we really appreciate the questions. We are always available. We have our ministry's website. We will be putting information out there. Also, the government website. We will put all of the information there so that persons can access. We will put the contact numbers and the persons that you ought to reach out. You can reach out to, if in case of persons being getting into contact with snakes and whatnot. So. Once again, let me thank you, and may have a blessed day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
C'est by pet code system ça fini. Et ça c'est pour toute cette dossier qui n'est un case qui a pour swap. This courthouse was established especially to deal with the backlog of criminal cases in the court system. The court has already started operating and is already yielding results with over 30 cases being disposed so far.
I'm informed that of the 138 or the 1,138 cases pending as of the 31st of March 2026, 587 of them, 51.6%, have been there for over 6 years. By any measure, this is unacceptable and justifies the saying that justice delayed is justice denied. The administrators of justice will have many reasons for this deficiency in our system. This mounting backlog of cases has been a pressing issue for my administration since assuming office in July 2021. This morning, I'm pleased to say that this long-standing issue is not being addressed, following my administration's early declared intention and commitment to do so. So I'm very happy that we can sort this thing out. I'm very, very, very pleased. It's been the government's commitment to deal with the justice system. And I can tell you, we've made tremendous investment in citizen security in this country. Tremendous investment. What's happening at Borderley? Doing work at Borderley. Tremendous investment. And very soon, we're going to be begin the construction at the former George Charles Secondary School. We're going to be beginning the construction of young men who have issues with the law. Something which will be different from a prison, but we'll have where young men will be able to get some rehabilitation. That's going to be pronounced next month. And as I declare officially open this court, I want to remind you of the insightful words of the civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, "True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice." I thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Minister with responsibility for Education, Youth Development and Sports and Digital Transformation. As you know, he did not attend either the St. Joseph's Convent or St. Mary's College. Minister, you...
Nor did he win last weekend.
Shout out to Leone's Comprehensive Secondary School. Morning.
Morning.
How you doing? I will tell you the funeral today. Okay, so for those of you who do not know, Beaufort Comprehensive Secondary School, they retained the title as Island champions in the male division. I should say because St. Mary's College was defending, and they came back to win that title on the weekend. And of course, St. Joseph's Convent, 4 in a row Island champions. And then I want to say congratulations to them. Of note, they better be looking over their shoulder, because there are a couple of schools that are doing very, very, very well. Miku Secondary. As a matter of fact, in the first iteration of Island Champs, we had the joint sort of figures for male and female to actually decide on the Island Champs. And I was outvoted in the desire to keep it happening that way, because they felt that it would have unfairly disadvantaged some schools. But if we were to have done it that way, Beaufort Comprehensive would have amassed the most points again, collectively. That would have been followed by a sports academy. Actually did very, very, very well at this year's event. And Miku Secondary, people are sleeping on Miku Secondary. They've been doing very well in Island Champs. So congratulations to them. St. Joseph's Convent, St. Mary's College, they won last year. This year, it almost felt as if Beaufort went to bed the day after Island Champs last year, and they decided that there was no way that they were going to lose again. And you could see the organization of View Fort. I continue to encourage this event to be a national event. If I have my way, we would have no other mass crowd event happening on the Sunday of Island Champs. I would want for all parents, all and sundry, to be there supporting the next generation. I continue to appeal to every secondary school on the island to develop an alumni association specific to sport. There are so many dynamics when it comes to sports development, transportation, coaching, mobilization in terms of funds, and really just investing in young people. And so we see View Fort, we see a lot of past students as part and parcel of what happens with View Fort, and it works. We have that with SMC on a level and St. Joseph's Convent, but we really want all schools buy into organizing your alumni associations, start searching for sponsors, start doing what you need to do to organize for next year. Next year, we expect it to be even bigger. I want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Acado, continue to sponsor our activities in terms of schools. And I want to say to the others, we'll single out KFC. KFC is always sponsoring Jade Mountain and Chasney, the huge Bank of St. Lucia. I would say to the others, we have 18 schools participating. We have more than 18 companies in this nation that would have, reserves, I dare say, or revenue in excess of $1 million from your activities. Adopt a school. Adopt a school. Here's your challenge. Adopt a school from today. Invest in their program. You can get your sponsorship back in terms of whatever uniforms that you buy. You can get your branding. And from now until next Island Champs, we can definitely mention to you through the media and all of St. Lucia that you are a sponsor of a secondary school. That is how we're going to continue to grow Island Champs. Now, there were certain things in social media land that a lot of the times you do not want to gravitate towards, but some people actually do. The decision to move Island Champs this year from Soufrière to the Darren Sammy National Stadium was not made solely by yours truly. It was a collective decision by all the stakeholders on the committee. And every single stakeholder believed that Island Champs outgrew Soufrière. And here are the numbers. Last year, by 3 o'clock, we had many individuals call in to say they had traveled from Castries, even from Ancillary, in some instances Dennery, only to get to the venue, and they could not have parked anywhere in Soufrière. That is a fact. This is not being emotional. That is a fact. We had to install bleachers in Soufrière, and we were called on several occasions on people that had fainted from the heat emanating from the track. We know the standard track and field area, there's no synthetic in the middle where the football area is. It's normally grass, which gives a little bit of cushioning in terms of the heat. But Soufrière is different in the fact that the football area was also turned into synthetic. So the amount of heat at Soufrière surpassed that of any other venue, and that is a fact. It was also a fact that in Soufrière we had instances, and I was called as minister, that because we were dealing with women as well, young girls, that some of them did not have areas of privacy to change comfortably. We know that these issues are existent in that area, and we want to address it. The fact remained that we could not have continued to have done it that way. Also, in terms of comfort of a warm-up area, we were not satisfied in terms of the amount of space there. And so the committee took that into consideration as well. There are many other reasons, many other reasons that we were given, and I as minister, along with the technical team, decided that the fact that government have already decided to commence the refurbishment of George Odlum Stadium the moment the patients are fully removed, that George Odlum Stadium will be where we host Island Champs comfortably. There's a warm-up area, there's a synthetic turf, there's adequate seating. We can have it on a Sunday and invite all of the nation. But until such time, we had to take a responsible decision to ensure that all and sundry were comfortable for Island Champs. And here are the numbers, preliminarily. Last year in Soufriere, we sold about 3,100 or so tickets. I'll provide that information later in terms of Island Champs. This year, preliminarily, the number is far exceeded 7,000 individuals coming to Island Champs. We had something that we're hoping to address, more students in the concession area than actually in the stands. And we had a lot of rotation. We had a lot of people, some came early and left, and some came a little bit later, stayed and left. But the preliminary numbers that I last checked was over, and it was very close to 8,000 people attending Island Champs. In terms of viewership, the numbers are there, more than 60,000 views so far, and we have it across multiple, that's just one platform I can speak to. We had it on Facebook, we had it on YouTube, Helen Television System covered it. And so you can see that at some point, if you put all the numbers together, over 100,000 views Island Champ. It meant that almost all of St. Lucia at some point tuned in to see what was happening with the next generation of athletes in this nation. I think this is the best way to go. I don't think Island Champs is perfect. I don't think that we can get perfect in 3 years and the 4th year. I think we should have ended a little earlier. I think we could put more in terms of the logistics for the athletes and the parents and the children. It is by far not a perfect event, but an event that will change forever track and field in this nation and the way we consume sports. So, all in all, I want to say congratulations to the principals, congratulations to the teachers, congratulations to the officials, congratulations to the Ministry of both Education and Youth Development and Sport for their tireless effort. Muelas, but you have to keep going. That's the nature of this job. But I think Island Champs 2026 was the best yet. Move on. Julian Alfred, she participated in the 60 meters at the World Championships, World Indoor Championships held in Poland. As you would know, she finished 3rd. Not running a personal best time. For some reason, even through the heats, she seemed to have had a slower start than the others. Julian is noted for having one of the fastest starts in female track and field history, and so she's not hit that yet this year. I can say as a minister, I am not very concerned though. I'm not worried. You could see the top end speed in every event. If it was 100 meter, Julian was winning. You could see when she got in stride that nobody was moving at a faster rate. So knowing Julian Alfred, she probably is still crying. Such is the nature of the lion inside of her who wants to win every single time. But that is just not possible in a 60 meter. That is a race that every single thing has to go your way at that level for you to win constantly. So I know for a fact Coach Flo will go back to the drawing board with her, do the necessary mental work, because the start is all about being mentally prepared for the gun. You have to balance ensuring that you go off when the gun goes and you're not disqualified, because unlike certain competitions, you don't get a second chance in a 100 meter. So congratulations to Julian Alfred. That's the 4th consecutive global event that St. Lucian is bringing home a medal. So I think we can all smile about that. Questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. Good afternoon. So in light of Julian Alfred's, even though placing 3rd in this year's championship, we have seen the level of athletics, especially in St. Lucia, growing to an all-time high. Mm-hmm. So we have newer individuals coming out, beating their personal bests, and a lot of new sports coming out. So with this new rise and in popularity of sports as well as athletics, could be anything, running, basketball, football, you name it. So what would be the ministry's next point of action, especially with this new highlight and raise within sports?
I think at the end of the day, there are certain things that must happen in sport in St. Lucia. We need to, and I guess some people feel away when I say those things. But you cannot be a responsible minister if you do not bring sport to the population center. We will complete George Odlum Stadium. We will ensure that that happens in the South. We will ensure that we commence work on the drag racing track in the Vieux Fort as well. And we have been having discussions about establishing aquatic sports in the South as well. But the majority of our sprinters, the majority of a lot of people that are consuming track and field, a lot of individuals have been asking and begging for a 400-meter track in the north of the island. And so for us to continue that work in track and field, it is very essential that we have a 400-meter track, standard Olympic track in the north of the island, in the south of the island, on the east coast, and the west coast. We have on the west coast. We have in the south of the island. We do not have on the east coast and in the north of the island. And so the development plan would definitely be to establish these two, at least to have the track and a warm-up area, so you have this constant training in those areas. And I think that will take track and field and athletics to another level. We will continue to do all the infrastructure work on our multi-purpose playing fields. In terms of football and cricket, it's a challenge managing these two sports at venues like in Grosley, but we'll continue that. Court sport is something that we are going to be investing in the next coming years. Volleyball, basketball. By the way, congratulations to the St. Lucia Basketball Federation. They have a very, very competitive national basketball league ongoing right now. Soufrière, of course, are defending champions. They were defeated by Bonte, Grosley, in that opening match, but Bonte suffered a loss to that Castries team called the Mon last week. But very good competition ongoing. I've been showing my face at all sporting events as per usual, but I think they are making some great strides. Volleyball. We are in the process of completing the design for beach volleyball venues around the island. We're starting with the complex. If you look at the developed world, the third world people seem to believe that beach volleyball has to be played next to a beach. But if you go to Cuba and all those areas in the heart of the city, they would carve out an area, put some sand, and have a beach volleyball competition. We are in the process of establishing that almost immediately after budget at the VG Sports Complex. We've done very well in beach volleyball. We're in the process of lighting up an area in Pigeon Point so we can have more beach volleyball through solar lighting, and the investment will continue around the island. As I said at last press briefing, we have identified an area for esports to have a home. So you have those involved in the multi-billion-dollar industry of playing FIFA on the computer, on the television, actually having a home to have competitions and to train and develop programs. I've always encouraged all associations, developed programs where you use your sporting discipline to really change the mindset and develop young people into proper functioning individuals.
As you've already outlined, the Island Champs 2026 was obviously not perfect. And there would have been quite a few areas that needed, or that will need attention going forward. Having said that, I want to just sidetrack a little bit. There have been criticisms of, not criticisms, I think maybe praise for teams coming out to the south. There's the re-emergence, as it were, of the southern teams showing their head and performing at the very top levels. So much so to secure the boys' title. And of course, you've mentioned Biko. What do you think is the issue with regards, and not to pit one against the other, but what do you think is the issue with regards the Castries teams?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I sat yesterday and obviously as a Leon Hess boy, I thought back to the inter-secondary schools competitions that I would have participated in. Leon Hess finished top 3, Entrepot finished top 3, St. Mary's College Vieux Fort top 3, all 5 of those years. And right now we could barely see Entrepot breaking in the top 7 or 8. Same with Leon Hess, Castries Comprehensive, middle of the line. I think at the end of the day, what I said earlier, I think we'll reap some really good rewards. We are in the process of immediately doing all of the post-mortem examination of what actually happened at Island Champs this year. And we are actually going to set up a school sports commission that's with responsibility of looking at the dynamics of school sports in terms of how it has evolved over years and how it is that we can strategize on building those schools that seem to be left behind, like an entry post-secondary school who produced a Laverne Spencer, could barely bring in a medal at Island Champs in 2026. And so we can look at how it is that we can provide support to those schools, bring in the coaches, bring in the former athletes, bring in the individuals who attended the schools who now have a big marketing job at a company or is a big lawyer, a big doctor, and just see how they can bring in some resources to provide that level of support to those schools within that Castries Basin as well. While I'm at it with that, we had a situation in 2026 where we still saw individual athletes running barefooted. Again, as a minister, we've invested thousands of dollars in sports equipment for students. And the fact of the matter is, it is available. We have track shoes, and I remember when we were purchasing the track shoes, we have 8 lanes. We did an analysis for if a child comes in and she's a size 5, she couldn't get a track shoe. A size 6, 7, 8, 9, we did it up to 13. And so we made those provisions so that athletes can actually, if they do come to Island Champs without a track shoe, they can use a track shoe and return it. In some instances, we've actually given those students track shoes. So if you have a proper alumni association, you do not wait until the ministry or minister or politician provides track shoes. You sit down, you analyze who's gone to Castries Comprehensive over the last 50 years. Who are the individuals that are resourceful that can provide us with some finances so that Castries Comprehensive can provide a track shoe for every single athlete participating in Island Champs or is part of a club right now. So the responsibility doesn't only have to be on a government or a minister. This is where we want to, the direction we want to go in sport. Same with football. You don't need somebody from SMC calling the ministry to get football boots for 4 or 5 players. You have individuals who played great football for St. Mary's College who is in the US or in England that may have one that they only used once. How do you connect with those people to provide that gear? We invested $1 million in sports equipment last year, and we're going to continue to invest in sports equipment, and we certainly hope that the training and the programs at the school allow for these athletes to feel comfortable running in track shoes, which obviously from time to time doesn't seem to be the case.
Following up a little bit, would it be unfair to suggest that the failings of the northern schools can rest on the shoulders of the administrators who have probably not bought into the program and maybe centered on academics, with sports being playtime or pastime?
That's a very, very good observation, because we've seen the shift even at the primary school level. I never saw lessons at the level that I'm seeing now at primary schools. I mean, I'm talking about probably even infant schools. We have lessons to focus on academia, as if to suggest that if you gravitate towards strengthening your body, that or being involved in sport, that it will take you away from being a competent academic. So the mentality that has shifted probably need to do the analysis to get objective information, may have shifted more in the north than in the south, because the amount of time invested on fields and on the track and that sort of, it seemed to be more in the south, whereas in the north you have the dynamic of video games, more access to devices, cell phones, tablets, more access to television, and less playtime. So the analysis may have to be done on that. And of course, I will add the the mentality with some of our school principals that it's academia, academia, academia. Some of our teachers, academia, academia, and that's what school is for. I would couple all of that as a bouillon in terms of what we may have to look at in, coming to some decision or some form of conclusion on why the South seem to be doing better than the North.
Okay. Just diverting a little bit into education. I believe you said, I think it was earlier this year when you did a speech, especially when it comes with AI playing a huge part with education. And I know with CXC now becoming more digital, as the years go by. My question is, has there been any discussions or any talks of having AI or open AI integrated into school curriculums, especially like moving forward for anyone learning what to actually learn to use AI from the ground up as it's becoming so dominant, not just in the Caribbean, but worldwide as well?
I will tell you something. About 2 weeks ago, a young man made a presentation to me showing how he could use AI to evaluate the various muscles in a child's face, the eye, they say communication, 60% of it is nonverbal, the nostril, the forehead, to evaluate whether or not a child understands a concept. And therefore, in that same system, come to conclusions on the best way of providing pedagogical instruction for that very same child using AI. That is what digital transformation is. And in that same presentation, this individual showed us how he could use every single sporting activity in the world to teach algebra, to teach basic math at a primary and infant school level and at a secondary school level as well. And so in terms of integrating AI, I don't think anybody believes that we can get away from it. It has to be integrated in a very responsible way. It's not supposed to be a device that is used to cause people to get lazy, but it is a fact. The amount of work that our grandfather and great-grandfather had to do in providing an assignment, just using a pen and paper, and it is just significantly different and faster right now. Whereas it's becoming faster, we need to ensure that we have policy that makes it be done in a responsible way. So we guard against things like plagiarism. We guard against things where, students can just, provide information that they received and pass it on to another individual, and the system can just, chug and plug and change. So it's a mixed approach. We have to be balanced, but we have to work with AI. We have to work with the changing nature of teaching and, of course, observing when students learn. One more.
All right, good afternoon. All right, so you had spoken on the performance of the St. Lucia Sports Academy. If I'm not mistaken, they had come second in the male division. What's your stance? Is that correct?
I think it's third.
Third, right. So what's your stance on the development of the St. Lucia Sports Academy, especially as it comes to their performance versus the other schools on the island?
Well, we did say in our, and you can go take a look at it, we did say in our manifesto that we are going to transition the St. Lucia Sports Academy to the Laverne Spencer School, Laverne Spencer Center for Sporting Excellence. We did make that commitment to St. Lucia, and of course we're going to use a phased approach to get that. We are putting a committee together to look at the operations at the Sports Academy, and then we are going to use a phased approach to really design what that center would look like. If you look at the area, it's strategically located with Darren Sammy Stadium being right there, and you would have the aquatic center completed soon. Then you would have the multi-purpose court in terms of the indoor facility. You would have tennis, so you'd have a one-stop shop. And if we can get that space for a 400-meter track and football field, what we would design is to ensure that the athletes that are exceeding, that are doing very well, in addition to that, a construction of a national gym, strength training gym, we would have a different sort of program for where we currently call the St. Lucia Sports Academy. We've been, in terms of the numbers, it's been dwindling at this Sports Academy. And I believe at the end of the day, we really need to take a deep dive into the operations. They have done well, but there is one school of thought that if you are going to bring the best athletes at a particular age group into one institution, they really should be winning it all. There is that school of thought. And if you listen to me in times past, in my vision in developing sports in schools, it was always about developing sports at every single institution through alumni associations and bringing people from the community in every corner rather than shifting a few students in one location. So I've been very clear about that my entire tenure as Minister of Sport, and we're certainly hoping that we're going to head in that direction very soon.
So will we see, when it becomes named after Laverne Spencer and we see a change in how it operates, Does that mean that we'll see perhaps instead of it being a secondary institution, it'll be post-secondary, that will be open to more informal classes for students around the island?
It will not be, it's currently under the Ministry of Education. I do not see in the future, once we've transitioned, it continuing to function as a secondary school. We've moved in the direction of identifying 4 TVET institutions in this nation. We have some concerns on how it was instituted. As the Minister of Education, I will be working assiduously to make sure we get it right, because we need to get it right, and we have some tough decisions to make that I am prepared to make sure we get it right. And we are going to then use all those facilities. It's a huge facility to ensure that we have sporting development be the main item on the agenda in that area.
All right, thank you. Another question from the newsroom. Would you be able to provide an update into the long journey of integrating the Creole language into the curriculum?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I am a huge proponent of curriculum development, and I've had some meetings with CAMDU that have been very, very, how should I put it, a matter of fact. I believe that we've made great strides in things like, whether you want to call it African studies or heritage studies. I think very, very soon I want to present, by the time my daughters get to secondary school, a curriculum in the heritage, who they are, beyond 7 times British, 7 times French. That seems to be the only answer people seem to think about when you talk about our history, but who we are as a people. I think that is very, very important. And so that particular curriculum development would be very, very important. The curriculum for teaching Creole, from the presentation that was made to me, is complete. So we should be seeing a more comprehensive rollout from it. I think I would have been so further along in my Creole if I had it at Rosalie Primary and Infant, but mes at dia doutor bahay, so muy bon. But I certainly want for the next generation to really embrace that curriculum and really enjoy using it, especially when you're foreign and you don't want anybody else to understand what you're saying. So I'm very excited about it. I will be given a further presentation later on, and I can provide some more information then.
All right, thank you. Is that it? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre confirmed that the initiatives form part of a coordinated response developed in consultation with the St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Public Utilities, and the Office of the Prime Minister. These measures are critical at stabilizing the water supply, particularly in the north of the island during the current dry season. The plans to barge water from Dominica to support hospitality operations are at an advanced stage, with initial shipments expected on island in the coming weeks. This measure is designed to curb the depletion of local water sources and supplies from the 8% desilted John Compton Dam, allowing greater prioritization of supply to residential communities while supporting commercial and tourism operations.
The St. Lucia Tourism Association, working with the government and working with Vasco, are going to be importing water from Dominica using a barge, Mr. Speaker. And that's also important because the hotels and people in the north have to truck water from the south of the country to take it down to Grocery and the north. So that's going to be easier, and because of the foresight of the government in allowing Alia to build their jetty, the barge can come in there and the water can be disbursed from there, which is closer than the north of the community.
The Prime Minister hastened to add that if the situation further deteriorates, the government of St. Lucia will spare no effort to ensure the water is barged into the island to supply this much-needed resource to the people of St. Lucia.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. As you know, the Prime Minister will tomorrow present the 2026-2027 estimates of revenue and expenditures. So he will give you a preview of that this afternoon. And so I present the Minister for Finance, Justice, National Security, Constituency Development, and People Empowerment.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have new ladies. From? Hot 7. From? DBS. I see. Yeah. DBS? All right. I know everybody else. How are you? All right. You notice, did you harvest water this weekend?
Yeah, we knew you would say that. We knew that was the first thing you'd say. We bet on it.
You did that?
Yes.
You harvested water? You know, I'll tell you something. I bought 1,000-gallon tank, an extra 1,000-gallon tank. And I want to take I was late this morning, that's why. I want to take a picture of you to see how I collected 1,000 gallons of water between the time I told you so and the time and this morning. 1,000 gallons of water on one side of my parents' house. One side. Not even the entire house. One side. I collected 1,000 gallons of water. This morning I was passing by the Antibo School. I'm going to call the principal after this press conference. In fact, this afternoon. He has 4 tanks lined up with Wasco's water. And he has his entire roof coming down. He has the water going straight into the ground. And he has 4 tanks of Wasco water a few feet away. A few feet away. I will be saying that every day I see you. Because I need to get people to understand that the Wasco's problems, Wasco's issues did not start today. We pretend as if it started today, but that always happens. Wasco, it's not the first time we've had a drought. Wasco's problems have been there for a long time. We are going to be solving or beginning to solve Wasco's problems. Next week, work will start on the pipe from Bonte to Grocery. So that should help the people in that part of the country. From Bonte to Grocery. You heard in Parliament last week that we got the money from the CDB for the major pipeline to get into the Feebles plant. We're going to be repairing that pipeline. We're also going to be continuing the work at Pasias in Miko. So we are solving Wasco's problems. The fact remains, that the desilting of the dam was a complete mess. And regardless of what excuses any political aspirants want to make, the fact is the desilting of the dam was a mess. And if the process that had been started in 2015, when we were in government, and when we started the process of desilting the dam, we would not have been where it is today. But I'm not in the business of going into the past. I'm in the business of going into the future. The situation is not good, but we are going to work together with WASCO and with the people of St. Lucia to try to solve it. It is our responsibility. We're not the one who caused it, but it's our responsibility. So I've told you where we're starting. So next week, you're going to see work starting on the pipeline from Grosse to Bonte. That's very important. That's going to happen. WASCO tells me it's sometime in April. WASCO has delivered to the cabinet today a strategic plan. We've been asking for a strategic plan for a long time. They have at last given it to us. Because we can't afford to put taxpayers' money in an organization and there is no plan. So WASCO has thankfully, they've given us a strategic plan right now. So we're working with that. But we are going to take some tangible steps to improve the situation, which we did not cause, but which we are going to try to deal with. We didn't cause it. If the Rosa Dam had been properly desilted, $60 million later, and the question goes, why didn't you continue? How can you continue when there's only $2 million left? Continue with what? Because it had been capped by the NRC. So these half-truths, these half-stories, are things that we don't want to go. We are looking about the future. The situation is this government is going to be working on improving the water situation in this country. A committee has been formed to look at a PPP arrangement that is in the long run or in the medium-term run. But right now, what's going to happen is you're going to take some immediate steps. And part of these steps is, I told you before, and rainwater harvesting. These are part of the steps you're going to take. The idea of importing water from Dominica, which a whole useless hue and cry was made about it, when it was very clear that the government never said it was importing water. The government said, the SLHTA said so. But people, we're so much in a hurry to play politics with serious issues that will affect everybody and to blame the Prime Minister. That we jump on all kinds of things. The government never said it would import water. The government said that the SLHTA, you were there, you heard. The government never said, we said, and look at the possibilities, because of the possibilities. And I repeat it again. So we'll leave the people in St. Lucia without water and don't import it if I have to? Of course I'll import it if I have to. I can't leave the people of St. Lucia without water and not import it. But I've never said the government is importing water. The SLHTA is the one that said that. And we said the government would assist them. And the people at Alia said that they would have used their jetty. That's what happened. And why is the problem? If we have to do it, we have to do it. So you want me to lead the people of St. Lucia without water? I will never do it. If the government has to import water, we'll import water. Because our government is a people's government. But what we said is we'll assist, we'll work with them in the regulatory situation with the hotels. But it's the hotels who said they're looking at the possibility of importing water. But let me say it again. If I have to import water, if the time comes when I have to import water for the people of St. Lucia, I will import it if I have to. So I'm very concerned about the water situation. If more people listen to me, it will be a little easier because water fell for the whole weekend. You understand? Water fell for the whole weekend. It will be much easier. And it didn't take a lot of changes, because I drive around, I drive around. I live in St. Lucia. I live really in St. Lucia. I don't live I live in St. Lucia. In St. Lucia. You understand? So I know how St. Lucians live. I know how they live. And if it was not for this useless political propaganda and thing, people, and I'm ready to tell you, people are very slowly getting there. Simple adjustments, very simple adjustments. We would have seen people would have had enough water for the week. I saved 1,000 gallons, 1,000. And not tell me because I can afford. No, I didn't afford anything. Just a bit of guttering, drop it. 1,000 gallons. So why? It's because we can't solve Wasco's problem today, Let's not pretend we'll solve Wasco's problems tomorrow morning, or by some magic 16-1 turns to 16-1 the other way, which that Wasco's problems will solve immediately. It will not. It will not. Let's not pretend. It will not. Anyhow, so Wasco, we're concerned, not our problem. We didn't create it, but we are working with Wasco to solve it. Tangible steps. This government cannot take responsibility for Wasco's problems. What we can take responsibility for is trying to cure the problems. That's what you take responsibility for, but not for the problems. We're not the one who caused it. We're not the one who caused it. We are trying to solve it. And if you look at your history, and this is why I've been speaking about your history, you'll have seen which government has been persistently trying to solve Wasco's problems. You might know, it used to be called WASA, Water and Sewage Authority. That's what it used to be called, WASA. We changed it to Wasco to corporatarize it. We've been constantly trying. The desilting of the dam. Look at the process that was started in 2015. Look at the process. Look at the process that started. Look at how the dredging firm was chosen. Look at what happened after 2016. These are the times when you realize what really happened in St. Lucia and not the half-truths that are being peddled. But we are working on it. Anyhow, tomorrow is Estimates Day. It's going to be the largest budget ever in St. Lucia's history. Going to a budget of $2.18 billion. It's a budget that we have to be very careful in how we crafted it. But we crafted it when we crafted the budget, the situation in Iran had not been what it is today. So the budget is crafted using oil prices at that time. Let me make it clear. When the budget was crafted, the situation in Iran was not what it is today. Or let's put it this way, the geopolitical situation was not what it is now. But if and when adjustments are required, we will come to the public and inform them. The next change in the price of oil, I can tell you early that petrol will remain at $16 per gallon for the next 3 weeks. I tell you very early. Petrol will remain at 16. So the naysayers and the economists of choice will not be able to tell you anything different. For the next 3 weeks, petrol will remain at $16 for the next 3 weeks. But the revenue from petrol has decreased substantially. It has decreased, but it will remain at $16 at least for the next 3 weeks. We'll continue to subsidize cooking gas, LPG gas. We'll continue to subsidize it, albeit at a higher level. But gas prices will remain the same at least for the next 15 weeks. What else? You must understand that tomorrow is going to be just the estimates of expenditure. So government's policy is not going to be revealed or unfolded or expanded on in tomorrow's session. That will happen on the 21st of April when we have the policy statement, when the country will be told how will government use the money that we're passing tomorrow. I can tell you that the economy will continue to experience growth under the present circumstances. We expect growth in tourism and construction to continue, and an uptick in agriculture. Agriculture has performed pretty well this year. But all these details will come in the government's policy statement on the 21st of April. So tomorrow is estimates. Revenue performed very well. The revenue performed well. The way the estimates are presented in that manner. There are the approved estimates. The approved estimates means that we go to Parliament and we approve estimates. We say that is the projection. Then there is the outturn for the year. That compares what you projected with what you did for the year. Now, there are always little changes because the year ends on the 31st of March, and these figures are prepared probably at the end of February, so that is why they're called draft. So the final figure comes at the end of March, so you will see it in the next budget, the final figure for the year 2027. But you're going to be seeing the final figures for the year 2026. Because these are completed. Next year, 2027, what you're going to have is the forecast, the projection, and that's going to be compared to the actual figures for 2026. So you have a fair comparison as to how the economy performed, how the revenue performed, and how expenses performed. The revenue, but our expenses are increasing. Particular expenses on wages and salaries, they are increasing. You know, we paid civil servants their back pay, and the salary increases. So we have to look at our expenditure is actually increasing. Our current expenditure is increasing. There's been a little improvement in the investment performance, but we still are not performing. Our implementation rate is not what we want it to be, but there has been an improvement in the implementation rates. We're going to pay a lot of emphasis this year to the ease of doing business. We need to make St. Lucia an easier place for business transactions. That is that's going to be a key feature in the upcoming year. Construction and tourism is expected to continue, but you'll hear a lot more of that in the policy statement. Any questions?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. So just for confirmation, so as you said, for tomorrow is supposed to be just more like an estimate rather than, and then the 21st of April is supposed to be the full policy line.
21st of April, we're going to hear the policy, how the government is going to run the country for the next year, based on the money that we are giving you, that we are giving the people.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted a clarification. Yeah.
My question is, you said that the estimates were made ahead of current geopolitical tensions.
prepared.
We're prepared, right? So my question is, in light of high global fuel prices and the impact on the cost of living, what specific measures is your ministry, that would be economic development or finance, implementing to prepare and support St. Lucia for the upcoming challenges ahead, economic challenges ahead?
First of all, the first preparation and mental preparation. That's the first preparation, mentally. We have to find ourselves in a situation where we have to agree that there are certain things that are beyond our control. You have to agree that. So we have to get mentally prepared for this thing. Secondly, the government has made great strides in trying to cushion the effect of increased prices. We remove VAT on many grocery items. We gave bonuses to civil servants. Indirectly, we are helping mothers and families with their CXC fees. All these things are cushions that we are creating. We increase our level of public assistance. We are this year increasing to adding one more GC subject to it. We are taking a number of steps. We have the minimum wage, which is extremely important. And then, as I said before, the minimum wage is a work in progress. So we probably will ask the commission to look at it again at some point. We increase pensioners. First time, we increased the minimum pension to $500. So we've taken several steps to reduce the impact of inflation and the cost of living. But this government is a government that always thinks about people. That's our history. So we are going to be. I'm not going to be able to tell you that we're going to be doing X or Y. What I can tell you is we are going to be taking all the necessary steps to ensure that the people of St. Lucia are not dealt the full brunt of what is happening geopolitically. And we have to do our things ourselves. We always told you about growing what you eat. We have to get back in the simple things. You understand? It is very...
You said GCE or CSEC.
CSEC, yeah. So where I was. You see, that's why I had to warn you about this kind of thing. I did GCE. GCE was actually harder than what... You think it was harder?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Earl too young.
Earl did GCE.
That's less information.
Rand did GCE too.
I'm a young Judah.
You see, this guy suffers some. This guy's he called ageism.
Me?
Yes.
Man, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah. All right. So I was saying to you, we have to do all the things. Now I noticed somebody's been and what's very nice. A lot of people are sharing things. I got something about somebody sharing how you can plant crops in a small space, and it was very enlightening how you can plant. I can't remember the food. So people are sharing. St. Lucians are coming up, living up, but a lot of noise. The noise is blocking out what St. Lucians are really doing. The noise. I'm sure people are having their backyard, the backyard gardens, rearing the chickens, so you can eat organic chicken. You understand? And these are the things that we have to do. But let's not cry doom and gloom and look at the glass half empty. Too many times look at the glass half empty. We are people who have survived. We have survived as a people. We survived slavery. We survived colonialism. We are people we are resilient people. Things are difficult, but we'll work together. We'll survive. Let's not put a cloud of gloom and doom over the country. We'll survive. We've survived hurricanes. We survived a lot of things, And that's why I always say, young journalists, look at your history. We've survived a lot of things. It's difficult, but if we get together, if we put the collective wisdom of our collective consciousness, we can survive. Let nobody put you in a doom and gloom situation. Look at yesterday, sports, young people, island champs, lots of talent there. St. Lucia we're not perfect. We will never perfect. We will never be perfect. But let's not make anybody put a cloud of doom and gloom on our country. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. But once we have the proper attitude, we have the discipline, we have the understanding, and we work together, we'll survive. We will survive. Don't let anybody make you think that you're in a situation where tomorrow you will end up in. No, we will not. We will not. We will survive. But we have to work together. We have to be disciplined. And you have the support of a government that will cause you to have an improved quality of life.
Thank you. Second question from me. As Minister with responsibility for national security, can you provide an update on the status of the Commissioner of Police position, particularly following the reported expiration of the contract? Who is currently acting in that role, and what is the timeline for a permanent appointment?
The acting Commissioner of Police is Mr. Ronald Phillip, the Deputy Commissioner of Police. He is now the acting Commissioner of Police. A new Commissioner of Police will be in place between the 1st of April and the 15th of April.
Final question from me. Following the serious accident at the Jamari Junction on Saturday, should there be an introduction of new traffic regulations or additional safety measures for that area to reduce the risk of future incidents?
First measure, personal responsibility. First measure, personal responsibility. Because we speak up, we always, personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. Obey the existing laws. Stop at the major road. Stop at the traffic light. That's the first responsibility, and we're not telling people that. Because of our need to play politics, we are condemning everything else except telling people to take personal responsibility for their action. I've said several times, there would have been collisions, there would not have been death. If people were driving at a moderate rate, there would have been collisions, not death. People are driving too fast, and I'm very happy, I might get blows for that somebody was charged for dangerous driving. I'm very happy. The police must start to begin to charge people for dangerous driving. I'm fed up with that nonsense. Guys driving at 70, 80 miles per hour on roads built for 30, 40. This is foolishness. The police must take their responsibility. People have to I say it again. The police must begin when people are guilty to charge people for dangerous driving, and when they cause death, once there is a case, they must begin to charge them for dangerous driving. This is nonsense. And I'm not taking any prisoners as far as that's concerned, or any blame. There'll always be collisions. Always be cars will knock each other. But that death is because of speed. I see the pain from these foolish guys, stupid people driving at that rate. I see the pain. A man's driving with his family. You knock him, you break his leg, he can't walk again. You maim his child, you maim his wife. They've lost income because of your stupidness on the road. Somebody must take a stand. It's foolishness. And take noise. Don't tell me talking about lights or potholes. I ain't that. Don't give me them excuses, lights, and even though there are no lights and you're not driving fast, you'll have a collision. You won't kill nobody. I get very emotional about it. I see the pain. I go to the hospital, I see the pain of people in these accidents. In my constituency, men on crutches. Because why? They rode a motorcycle without a crash, without a helmet. What is causing you not to understand that to ride a motorcycle without a crash helmet is dangerous? One minute that you can't ride a motorcycle in slippers. You can't ride a motorcycle in slippers. No matter how macho you are. Or you can't ride a motorcycle with short pants. Certain things you're not supposed to do. You understand? I'm very, 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 very angry at this recklessness that's happening in the roads of the country. And the excuse that some people make for them. You can drive at 70 miles per hour on the grocery road. 70 miles per hour. Where you going? So, gentlemen and ladies, I'm very, very, very serious. I'm making no excuses for these guys. The police must begin to charge these guys once there's a case. This is nonsense. Overtaking in corners, just being, I'll take the blame. I mean, if I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it. This reckless driving must stop. This is nonsense. And I'm going to stand up against it. This is foolishness. This recklessness is happening on the streets of Lucia. Overtaking in corners, just sheer madness. And you're looking for excuses. Oh, the road not good, that pothole, them got lights, it them mark. All kind of foolishness. You're just making excuses for bad behavior and lack of personal responsibility. We're not taking any responsibility for our own actions. We're blaming everybody else. The Prime Minister first and everybody else. But we're not taking any responsibility for our own actions. Let us as a country take responsibility for our actions. The things we can control, let us control them. And driving on the road is one of them. So, gentlemen, I'm sorry if I went in because I see the pain of this accident. I see it. So, a guy, I mean, young guys. Another issue we have is smoking and COPD. We have to take a handle on that. The COPD rate in this country is alarming. We have to take, and part of that is we have to see if we can begin to control smoking in public. Because when we talk about healthcare, we have to take some personal responsibility. COPD is almost getting to a pandemic state. And the sad thing is, women now have joined the COPD style, the COPD problem. Yes. It's sad. What are we doing about it? What are we saying? Nothing. Blame the government. Healthcare. That's what we do. Blame the government. Blame the Prime Minister. I mean, this COPD thing, just wait. You see, the reason I can say that because I'm a living St. Lucian. I live in St. Lucia. I live among St. Lucians. That's the difference between me. I live among St. Lucians. I live among them. When I go into my home, I see them. I can't get away. Or I go to my home, I must see them. Must see them. I must hear them. I hear their cries. I hear their complaints. I hear their curses. I'm the first one they curse. Because I can't get away. I can't head up north. I have to head among them. Anywhere I pass, I can't get away nowhere, unless I go in the air. Anywhere I pass, I have to feel, anywhere I pass, I see the real St. Lucia. Anywhere I pass, I see St. Lucia in its live and living color. And I can tell you, the COPD thing is getting dangerous. Another thing, I'm giving you all my problems this morning. Children attending schools, truancy. I'm going to put money in the budget for truancy. There are young children, in particular, boys who are not attending school. You're not going to school. And again, in the policy statement, we're going to make a concerted effort to deal with that problem. It's going to effort with the police, the Ministry of Education, the SSDF, and the Ministry of Sports, of Youth, to deal with young boys not going to school. That issue is coming up. It's boiling. It's growing. Young boys not going to school. And now young women, young girls are doing the same thing now. So I don't want to be in some Tower of Babel just criticizing and things. I'm talking about the reality of life in St. Lucia. We're getting to a problem with truancy. It's not a major problem yet, but it's building. And you have to cut it. And this year, in this budget, not tomorrow, the policy statement, we're going to make it take some steps towards truancy. Because you have to be able to identify the problem to solve them. Truancy. Why they're not going to school? Something we have to find out. But there is a growing problem of truancy. Children are not going to school. Growing problem. And if you're real, you'll see it. So this budget is going to be a budget, this policy statement where we are seeking to see if we can deal with real issues within the limits of our financial resources and not pie in the sky things, not things that people want just for their own ego or for their own political survival. Real issues that affect St. Lucians. That's what we're going to be dealing with in that budget. A real budget for the country to be able to survive in these trying times, because times are indeed trying. Very trying times. Challenging times. But let's not lie down and die. Let's work together.
President, good morning. Good afternoon. All right, so in recent news, Dominica has shared their progress on the geothermal plant that they have been constructing, and they are hoping that that geothermal plant will be able to produce most of Dominica's energy. And we know that right now, amidst the geopolitical tensions and the difficulty with oil, that we may have to think about other sustainable ways of getting our energy. We know that we've been talking about getting geothermal energy from the sulfur springs for decades now. Are there any recent developments or updates on the sulfur springs energy projects?
Yes, that is part of my policy statement. It's actually a priority. Renewable energy is a priority, but I can tell you that this thing takes time. Dominica has been that for decades, so it takes time. But work is progressing. But again, that's not a short-term solution. It's a longer-term solution. A shorter-term solution is solar power, which I'm very, very hopeful that the Electricity Supply Act is going to be in the Parliament first thing in the next session. We've been late with it. We've been late with the Electricity Supply Act. We've been late with it because sometimes discussion is necessary, but sometimes there may be too much discussion. But there's been a lot of discussion about Electricity Supply Act, but I want to tell you it's going to be in the Parliament early in the new session. But the work at geothermal is continuing, but a lot of the budget, a lot of the policy statement is about resilience as far as energy is concerned, renewable energy, etc. But work is continuing there. Yeah.
Thank you. Second question. The government has stated that it will focus on the rehabilitation of offenders and not solely punitive measures. Where does your administration stand on addressing repeat offenders?
The SSDF has a program for repeat offenders. We also introduce the situation of being able to payroll people from early. There's also alternative, and if you at the opening of the Swift Justice Court, which is a very significant policy, a very significant issue that has not been fully explained. There were 1,100 cases, some of them there, 500 of them there, don't hold me to the exact figures, 500, for more than 6 years. Justice delayed, justice denied. That court will have a special judge who will deal only with these cases. Now, you may tell me why, and again the skeptics will tell you, why you all just building a house of justice and you'll open another court there. That's what skeptics say. That's what some commentators say. Why are you doing that? Let me tell you why. The House of Justice will be in play next 2 years or something. It'll house all the courts. The backlog court or the Swift Justice Court is only to deal with cases that have been there for 6 years and over. 1,000 cases. That will not be able to happen in the House of Justice. Again, not a problem that we created, a problem that we found, and a problem that we are going to solve. You may remember that a prime minister that shall remain unnamed made a statement that there were 8,000 cases. I don't know if you remember that. We have so many short memories. Some of us have convenient short memories. Now, when I don't know something, I say, I don't know. Right? Some prime minister made a point that there were 8,000 cases in the system. I think Rihanna remembers. He reported, and he's paid for that. And then the Chief Justice says, no, it's 1,000 something. You understand? Now, from that time, these cases were there. They've increased. So what we're doing is that we are dealing with these cases. So all what will go there is these cases. So what will happen in the House of Justice will be current cases. So men will not spend 10 years on remand. You know there are men who have 10 years on remand? Yeah, 10 years a man on remand. For something, not only murder, some simple cases, 10 years. So the backlog case, the Swift Justice Court will deal with all these cases. So that is why we have 2 of them.
Okay. My question also kind of relating to that as well as offenders. We go into juvenile offenders. A correctional facility for teenagers who commit serious crimes that are not fit to be housed at the Bodily Correctional Facility. We know there's the Boys Training Center at Masad, but are there any plans for such a center, and what can we see coming from that?
The George Charles School, that compound. Now, people who know better than me in these matters. And there's a belief, particularly from some commentators, who think I should know everything, and I should speak on everything, and I should be able to give information on everything, and I should have solutions on everything. I don't. I don't know everything. I didn't go to school to study everything. You understand? That's why anytime somebody comes to ask me for a job, I say, what do you want to do? They say anything. I say, there's no job like anything. So anybody who wants me to say, I know everything, like how many people left in Dubai, how can I know that? This is crazy. How can I know how many solutions are in Dubai? How can I know? How can I possibly know that? But anyhow, that's my job. You laughing? I mean, so you know what? These things, it just makes me more. It makes my job a lot more exciting and makes me work harder. You understand? We're going to find ISIS what judges that is success. You understand? Like my success at the last elections, worked hard and I succeeded. And I did well. I got more votes than the last time, And somebody got four votes in a box. I'll never forget that. That is something that keeps me going. So when I get these criticisms, it just keeps me going. It doesn't deflate me. You see, it makes me work harder for the people of St. Lucia. That doesn't deflate me, you know. How can I know how many people in Dubai and the UAE? How can a prime minister possibly know that? People travel wherever they want. Anyhow, that's not the point. Let me get back to what I was saying. So we are building at the George Charles Secondary School. The land is going to be converted. Now there's a discussion among the social scientists, the psychologists, and the people who study criminal law that you ought not to put children who are at risk with children who have committed crime. There's a big discussion, a discussion which is still at the level of, many, the thing with social scientists and lawyers is they have different opinions about the same thing, right? That's the difference between social science and science. If you go to a doctor, he takes your blood, he tells you have that. That's it. You can't tell him, no, doctor, that's what I have. That's what your blood says you have. That's what you have. But the social scientists will tell you variations. The lawyer will tell you circumstances. That's the difference. The social scientists have been discussing, should we put all the children, those at risk, those who are at risk, or those who have been in conflict with the law in the same location? And that's what, but there's been, we have identified there's a George Odlum Secondary School at Cicero, you know what it was? Goodlands, the George Charles School, right, as the location for that rehabilitative care. Yeah, so they identified. That's what we're going to be. That's what they're discussing. Whether you can, so whether you see anything, and these things take money. You see, and then it comes back to the health and security levy. You'll get all the information on health and security levy tomorrow. All the information, all the you and cry about, you'll hear all about the health and security levy. I want you to listen, so you can hear the truth about the health and security levy. Yes. All these things have to be funded. It has to be funded. You have to fund it, and that's social expenditure. It must come from somewhere. It must come, and it's not coming from the health and security levy. Health security is not enough to do it. We've spent, tomorrow here, over $400 million in health and national security in the country last year. Over $400 million. And we need to spend more, a lot more. But the reality, yeah.
Undoubtedly, $2.18 billion budget, the largest in our history, would bolster or boost something or some things that are exciting for you. As the Prime Minister, what is the highlight of this budget?
So that's a good question. You see, it's such a challenging and exciting time to be in government. Not the words I use, challenging and exciting. In that, okay, let's look at a raw thing. Infrastructure. The Sojourn Around Highway, the new airport, in tourism infrastructure, the new hotel, the Alia Hotel. So the hotels that are going to be built on the Redvi beach. The schools that we opening. You must have seen that. I don't know if you still go to Anchipo, no? You don't.
Yeah.
You don't go. You don't.
Always.
I know that. I know you are a mommy's boy. you will see the Anchipo school. Any of you gentlemen, lady went to Anchipo? Rani. So you see that.
I wish I was
right. You see that thing. You see these things, like even infrastructure. These things like now, in terms of education, I want to see the progress of TVET. How is TVET adding to the education needs of the country? Is it working? So that also excites me. The youth economy, it excites me even more. How can we expand it?
how can we make it more, we give it more reach? How can we get more young men involved in it? How can we get novel things to happen? And not only that, how can we get new ideas, right? Developments in the digital economy. How can young people use the technology to move forward? So many things excite me, many things excite me. But I think that the prospects, I'm envisaging Castries, House of Justice, GPH, a new vendors arcade, refurbished Parliament building, a square, a nice open area between the church and Constitution Park. Sir George F.L. Charles, next to John Compton, Heroes Park. Coming down the road by B-Day, that building there, down, green, going right into the vendors arcade. They're going to cross, I go to Bannan. I see work happening, you know this work is happening in Bannan, right? So it's exciting. That's Castries. Then when we're doing that now, we're going to go to look at where people live themselves. That's our next challenge. How do we improve it? How do we improve George Charles Boulevard and Black Malay and how do you improve it? How do you improve the quality of housing? Very difficult task. Very difficult task. Very, very difficult task. People speak about it glibly. Very difficult task. But it's something we will work on. But I envisage that new infrastructure in the country. I go to Soufrière, I see work in Barons Drive, that whole new jetty going across there. So that's what excites me. So imagine Castries like that, and you go in Grosley, you have the highway, then you see the new police headquarters. You understand? So the infrastructure, the envisaging St. Lucia, the schools going up, is exciting. But most of all, I want the people of St. Lucia to develop. We still have to be people-centered. And we have many things that we have to do for the people of this country still, in education, in health. I want to see people who taken their health more seriously. By the way, I want to express condolences to Roger Inglis, who passed away yesterday. And this is a real story. It's a real story. I'm not making it up, but a real story. Yesterday after church, I went to my manicurist. And then my manicurist is in my constituency. I don't go to hotels. Stay in my constituency. So I went to my manicurist, and she said to me that Roger was next door at his sister, a lady called Anne Inglis. And he was there, and he got an asthma attack, and they took him to hospital, Roger. Before I was finished with my process, my manicure, my pedicure, they called and said that Roger was dead. Yeah. Before I was finished, they called and said Roger was dead. That happened yesterday. So it even made me feel more sorry for people who get angry. I felt sorry for people who get up every day angry, who get up every day with their mission and their vision to attack people. It made me feel even more sorry for them. But I said to myself, this guy was there a few seconds ago. I just missed him. They said to me, he got asthma. They thought it was asthma. So nobody said, I said man asthma. You know how you all are.
That's what you were told.
That's what you were told. Yeah, that's what I was told. I'll be very careful, because everything is recorded and used when they want to. I was told that the guy had an asthma attack. I was told so. And Anne was in church with me. Anne was in 2 pews ahead of me in church. Anne is his sister. And then before it's finished, the man's dead. So you think I can have animosity in my heart, or I can hate people, or I can carry any kind of burdens of people on my soul? I can't. I have a job. My job is a temporary job. One day I will not be prime minister. I'll be at my home, and my life will go on. So I really feel sorry for people who seem to have a constant hate and constant aggression, and get up in the morning, I'll get him. Get up in the morning, let me see what I can do to make him feel bad. These lessons are lessons that hit me on the bottom of my heart. The Roger Inglis lesson. It happened yesterday. So every time I see my friend Earl, as if it's the last time I see him. I saw Ryan on Friday. It was the last time I saw him.
Remember Springs? Or Winston Springer?
Winston Springer. He was with me. He was. Some these days look like fellas stop coming and check me. Winston Springer was with me. Yes, Riani. Winston was with me. Called to see me. He was with me at 12 o'clock. At 6, he was dead. So these things are lessons, you understand? So it's a very short life. And it's very short, you know. Even though you reach, you feel like, even though you think like, Rihanna, if you're 60 years old and you must die. It's a very short lifespan that we have. And we have to enjoy it. All of us will not agree, you know. How can we agree with everything? There was disagreement everywhere. But the constant, even out of the political season, the constant discord and, attacking people's children. And this thing, we have to stop it. If I analyze this, what will happen will always happen. The country will continue long after us. This job is a temporary job. My job is a temporary job. So I want to reach Roger and Roger's Inglis's family. My deepest condolences. I saw Anne yesterday in church. She was 2 pews ahead of me. I saw her. Anne Inglis is his sister. So I know them. This is close to home. Close to me, actually. I could have actually seen the guy just before he died. I heard it. So, lessons for all of us. Lessons. So,
finally, seemingly in something of the same vein, I imagine, St. Lucian seem to be growing an intolerance for the political back and forth.
No, the political back, not forth. You see? Answer your question.
Well, yes, so it seemingly the political back and forth with regards a number of issues. So you have the back and forth with regards the John Compton Dam and the northern roundabouts and the what have you. How is that expected to stop? How do we as a country come out of that situation, which is obviously not a healthy one, politically or otherwise?
I just want to say a few things, right? Because I heard this back and forth thing, back and forth. I don't know where that back and forth thing came from. I do it back. Well, yeah, let's see back and forth. There are a few facts. If you go to Union now, you drive to Union, you will see a truck that was bought, that was supposed to be a dryer, you'll see it there. That's no back and forth. Let me tell you again. If you live here now and you go to Union in the Wasco yard, you will see a truck that was bought and was never used. nearly $1 million. That's a fact. That's not a back and forth. So if you say that that truck was badly purchased, you've stated a fact. Agreed, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Secondly, if you go to the John Compton Dam and you look at the records of the Nook, you will see that there was, on that dam was spent nearly $60 million. That is a fact. And if you go further, you'll see that all the reports have told you that less than 10% of that dam was desilted. That is a fact. So there's no back and forth in that. There's no back and forth. These are facts. And who was in charge? Who was in government when that was happening? I was leader of the opposition. That's a fact too. So I don't know. So when you talk about this back and forth thing, these are facts. What must happen is that people must begin to say that facts are not facts. But these are facts. The building, the vehicle is there. You can go and see it. The records of money that's spent on the dam is there. It's verifiable. The dam being less than 10% desilted is there. You can see it. So where is the back and forth? Our job now is to move forward. But there's no back and forth. These are facts. That nearly $60 million was spent. That's not a back and forth. That's a fact. So I just want to tell you, back and forth is when things are debatable. But when things are facts that are proven, the truck is there. It's packed, never used. Go and see it. It's there. So I just want to tell you that it's not back and forth. It's people trying to do. John Compton used to say to Mr. Mizami one day, in my few days I spent with him in the parliament, he said, "You're trying to defend the indefensible." John Compton had a sense of humor that was out of this world. He says, the member for Cash is trying to defend the indefensible. so that's what happened in 1997. Not too long ago. 1997. I was there. I was there. He was there. You know, right? He was in opposition.
Yeah.
And he came back in 2006, and I was there too.
You're still there?
I was still there. In 2006, I was in opposition. Yeah. In 1997, he wasn't in 97. 2006.
2006, he came here.
Yeah. So.
I think in 97 you guys wiped him out. I think.
Yeah. No. 1997, John Compton was not the leader of the UNWP.
That's true.
So, 1997, Paul is the leader of the UNWP.
Yeah.
Right. Huh?
Yes, he.
Yeah. So in 2006, John Compton returned, and he won, and I was there. I was still member of Cashews East. So I made a point, and he says the member of Cashews East is trying to defend the indefensible. You know.
That was in 2006.
Yeah, I was there. 2006. I was there. I was there in all the Super 8 and the.
He was there for everything.
I was there for everything.
Staying power.
I'm living 1997 coming.
Yeah, a long time.
Very long time. 1997.
You still have energy. You still have the energy to keep going back and.
That's for another show. All right. Miss Alice, you okay?
Yes. Any other questions?
So are you coming? Are you coming to the parliament tomorrow? No.
They know for already. That's 5 o'clock.
Gone. They watch it on TV. Or listen to the little tidbits in the front of the place.
Yeah, or something like that. You know, to me, that's the most exciting political question, as usual, on this side. Yes. It's not in your interest, not in your party's interest.
I just been asking.
Yes. Still for it at the podium. You have members of the opposition who seemingly are continuing along the same vein, relitigating some of the same talking points and narratives that may have led to their downfall. What do you make of the fact that they're seemingly inflexible about their political strategy?
No. What I've noted now is that the Senate now is not a place where you put people there and you rotate them every year or every 2 years. The Senate has become a rotating per meeting.
It's like a basketball game.
It's like a football game, and you bring extras. You see, and honestly, I don't think that. No, seriously, I don't think the Senate was made for that. I think the Senate was created for a place where, do you know that money bills do not have to be debated in the Senate? Again, money bills are debated in the Senate out of tradition, but the Senate is not supposed to debate, not supposed, is not mandatory for the Senate to debate money bills. So all the you and cry in the Senate about the money bills is not supposed to be there. Is it been a tradition, a convention in St. Lucia, just like the Deputy Speaker, which was unconventionalized, that the Senate debates everything. But the Senate is supposed to be a place for mature discussion of government policy. But what is happening now is that today Amma is a senator, tomorrow is another senator, the next day there's another senator, the next week we have another senator. I do not know what's happening. I've never seen it before. I know when senators were absent, somebody who's in there. And sometimes that was even necessary sometimes. Because the Senate was a place where there wasn't all that. You know Rick Wayne was the senator, you know that? You all don't even know that. You don't even know that.
And he stepped down?
No, he didn't step down. He was no longer a senator. You understand? Listen to me. You must not interfere with the history, you know. You must not interfere with Rick Wayne and I. Leave that alone. All right? Leave Rick Wayne and I alone. Leave us alone.
Were you part of the decision?
Leave Rick Wayne and I alone. Let me tell you, senators are chosen by the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. Yes. So the Senate but now when I see Senate is a free for all. So how do they pay them? They divide the stipend. Huh?
Rotate pay.
Nobody must watch it. Seriously, you know, because the Senate, you get a stipend in the Senate, and do you get I'm not sure, but I'm sure you get a stipend. So this matter. So they have to. One man come from one meeting. So how will they pay them? This is a serious question. The Senate is now being used as a place to expose politicians who lost elections, to give them a platform. That's what's been used by that. We only in our Senate, we only have one person there who lost elections. Senator Harak Singh. Only one person. Everybody is there as there's not a point somebody running elections. But the Senate is now being used as a place where you put men there and the people rejected you in the parliament, but you're forcing them on the people in the Senate. And you're not forcing them one by one. We understand one. You're forcing them in groups. So you have a group today, a group tomorrow, a group the day after. So for the budget now, so you're going to bring your biggest guns. You're going to bring your biggest guns that the people rejected. So next week, when things are not too hot, you're going to bring your half guns. You're going to bring the second 11 when things are too hot. But when they have serious things like $600,000, you bring your big guns. But you know, there's only one way of measuring big guns in politics, you know, only one way. In the ballots. That's where all big guns are managed, you know. All big guns. They have to face the people. And the people, what determines if you are a big gun is the people, not you, you know. You can think you are a big gun from the bottom of your, top of your head to the bottom of your feet. You can think you are the biggest gun in town. But the final analysis, when people take a line, they line up, take a pencil. What's your name? Old Buski. There are 3 names there. This and that. Put yours. When you're going to do that, fold it, and you put the box. That's when the big guns are chosen.
That's when the ballot becomes a bullet.
I know, but seriously, this Senate thing is becoming a round robin every time. So I guess the budget, they might add a bigger gun, or that's the 3 biggest guns there.
People then?
Huh?
People, but don't you believe in second chances? You know, maybe a candidate, a politician wasn't successful at the polls, maybe a second chance, come back, get your act together in the Senate.
From the people.
Yeah.
Not in a body that's there for oversight and thing. I'm serious about you. That's never happened before. Never. We used to rotate senators. Rotate them. So somebody goes in for a year and you get somebody for another year. But they rotate them every day. It's according to what is on the agenda. So if you have when you have another citizen and you don't need your big guns, so you bring in the 3 that you endorse. You nominated.
And in your history, in your memory, that's not a UWP custom. Even in your time, UWP didn't used to rotate.
I can't recall. I can't recall that. There was rotation, but after a year or 6 months, or if somebody is absent, you bring somebody else. So I want to know what will happen at the budget policy. So who is the bigger gun they'll bring? To me, they had the 3 biggest guns. All right, have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.